Hi there. Since we are having a snow day on Thursday, I wanted to make sure that you guys would be able to find everything that you need for the assignment. So if you go to Canvas and you look in our class section and go down to modules, you can slide down to the video and verbal protocol analysis unit. You can remind yourself of all of the things that we're doing in this unit by looking at the syllabus plan. And if you go into there, hopefully you've read it already, you'll see that there's a coding scheme assignment. So you're going to be developing a coding scheme. And this assignment has 4 parts. And the first part is assigned between the Thursday lecture and the Tuesday lecture, which is when we'll next see you. And what you're meant to do during this time is to look at some data and to form a hypothesis about how what's happening in the conversation affects some outcome, which could be learning or it could be something social. It could be something related to productivity in a group. You could decide what that should be because ultimately you're not actually going to do the analysis fully to test the hypothesis, but what you're going to do is design a coding scheme that would provide you with some variables that you could use to test that hypothesis. Now we're going to talk about all of this in more detail in class, and it's very unfortunate that we didn't get to have this discussion with you in person before giving you assignment part A, but don't worry, we are definitely going to take that into consideration when we evaluate it. We would never unfairly expect you to, not have questions and not be able to deal with them. So what you're meant to do between the Thursday lecture and the Tuesday lecture is to form a hypothesis and then to look at some data and to start to think about what kind of observations would you need to make of the data in a formal way in order to test your hypothesis. So starting to think about what those variables are, how you would measure them, what you would look for. We don't expect you to start to design a coding scheme already. Really what we want you to do is stay at a very high level, but we would like you to really be thinking substantively about the data, what you see, and to start to formalize some questions about it. Now, in order to get to the data, you're going to have to use DiscoursDB, which is some infrastructure that's part of the CMU LearnSphere project. And I had sent an email around earlier pointing you to this part in Canvas for you to go ahead and request an account. If you just go ahead and click on this link, you'll see that it provides you with a link to DiscoursDB, and when you get to DiscoursDB, it gives this place where you can log in. You have to have an account, and you can just sign in with Google, and it already knows me, so it logged me in. For you, it'll take you to a place where you can request an account, and Chris Bogart will grant you an account. So please go ahead and do that right away. He's going to give you access to the data that we're using for this project. So I trust that everyone in this class has gone through the CITI training, that's CITI through CMU's IRB. If you have not, I would urge you to go ahead and do that before you request access to this data. Also, in order to do the assignment, you are going to export some of this data from DiscoursDB to your own personal laptop. I'd like to ask that after this class is over that you go ahead and just delete that. We just want to protect this data, but we are allowed to share it with you provided that you have CITI certification. Now over on the left-hand side, you can see the data sets that you have access to, and we'll be giving you access to the data. It says Discourse Shoe Study, and if you go down to the team section, then you can see for some teams that we have some data, and in particular, you'll be taking a look at the chat data. So if you click on one of the chats, then it brings up the data over on the right-hand side. At the top here, you can see how you can be tabbing page by page through this data. Now you can look at the data here in this data browser, or you can download the data as a CSV. Later in this unit, we're going to talk about doing some machine learning experiments, and for that, you'll need to use another piece of software, Lightside. We'll talk about that in class. Okay, so you can see here that if you export it, you get the CSV, and then you can manipulate the data in in Excel as I'm guessing many of you are very familiar. So that's all you really need to know about this for the assignment. We're not assigning a particular piece of data for you to look at, but we'd like you to just peruse some of this data, get a sense of it. It comes from a collaborative learning study that I'll talk more about in class. And you might think, oh, well, if I don't know that much about the study, how can I think of a hypothesis? But really, your hypothesis can come from the readings that you'll do for Tuesday that talk more broadly about some specific coding schemes that we've applied to collaborative learning data, the questions that we were asking, and a little bit about how we drew some inferences, but also what the challenges were. And you could start to think about what are your own questions in that space. It doesn't have to be the questions that we were asking in the particular study, but these chats can just give you a sense of, here's a discussion in some groups, what would I want to know that was happening? And again, for this assignment, we intend for you to just stay at a very high level, and we're not going to grade you harshly. This is all going to be interactive, and we'll talk about in class about what you turned in. So hopefully there's no panicking. Okay, in any case, we'll see you on Tuesday. We look forward to it, and I hope you're staying warm and safe.